Okay. We are on Miltum and Tara. We are on Daf. Yeah, it's tonight. Tonight it's the last night. We're on Daf Chofes and Ralph. Yeah. Rabbi Yossi. We're Rabbi Yossi Shei Rabbi Yechon. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 lines to the bottom. Yossi ba Shem Rabbi Yechon. Shlishi ba machma sheretz also also truma. A shlishi which comes because of sheretz, it's also now. The Gemara here presents a paradox, and many of the Mefarshim want to change the girsa, but I'm going to learn it straight. Both Gillian and Ephraim recommend shlishi ba machma sheretz. You have a sheretz which touched. Or sheretz is enough. Sheretz, let's say, touched a person. The person becomes a rishon. The person touched the keli becomes a sheni. The keli touched food, the food becomes a shlishi. Right? It's important to remember, although I tend to forget, so I'm not sure how effective it is to tell you to remember, but ochel can't be matame ochel, mashke can't be matame mashke, keli can't be matame keli. It has to go via from something else. If a man, let's say the man is a rishon, and he's matame ochel, that ochel can't be matame other ochel.
Yesterday's example, you had ochel matame being matame ochel.
Right. If I did, it was a mistake. Either it's a mistake or it's a special exception. I'm not sure what the exceptions are, offhand. I learned through Shas 1.5 times.
But I questioned it yesterday.
So I'm not sure what the exceptions are because I don't know why Truma Kochim how it works. But generally speaking, at least by Chulin, you can't have a food, the entire food. Only by Mayu Kochim Taras are different, but by Chulin certainly it doesn't work that way. Okay? So here say you have a shlishi. Shlishi ba machma sheretz also has also truma mutas also kodesh. A shlishi you're not allowed to make a truma, but you are allowed to make kodesh, which is the absolute paradox. Because kodesh is more chomer. You're not allowed to make a truma, not allowed to make, but you are allowed to make kodesh. So again, as I said, the Korban Eipnei Moshe actually changed the girsa. They say also kodesh and mutal also truma. But he does it very nicely, Gillian Ephraim. He says that the pshat is that he holds chulin atvulim l'truma ketruma dami. Tevel really has truma intact in it. There's a big machlokas in Shai, whether tevel is like truma in theory, or tevel is just tevel until the truma is taken off. So he holds chulin atvulim l'truma is ketruma dami. Before the truma is taken off, it's already as if it's truma. So therefore, this cannot, it's as if it's truma tmeya. But we don't say that by kachim, right? Because inherent in no object is its capacity to become kodesh. Inherent in tevel is what it's eventually going to become truma. But it's not inherent in chulin that it will eventually become kodesh. It might become kodesh, but it's not inherent its quality that it's going to become kodesh. So everybody says that chulin hatvulim l'truma is already ketruma dami, and you can't make a truma that it became a shlishi when it was tevel, because that already is as if it made the truma a shlishi. But by kachim, by chulin, which are going to make kachim, since it wasn't inherent in it, that's eventually going to become kodesh. So then you're allowed to make a kodesh even though it's in the shlishi right now. It's a nice svara.
Why are you allowed to make it kodesh if it's already a shlishi b'tumah?
Because shlishi by chulin is really nothing.
But
there really is no shlishi by chulin.
You're bringing it back to a higher level.
No, but it doesn't matter. That's the point. That's the beauty of the Gillian Ephraim. But if you hold that it's already truma, in theory, then it is a shlishi, and that's why you're allowed to make a truma. But you hold it, but nothing can be kodesh in theory. Because it has to be tevel in order to become truma afterwards. But it can be any chulin and then become kachim. That's just random designation. So therefore the shlishi never affected it. In other words, you need to have the potentiality of becoming something inherent to a great extent before it can even be susceptible to be a shlishi. See, it's not the pshat that we're making a shlishi into truma or kodesh. No. The fact that they become truma is what allows it to become shlishi to be in the first place. There's nothing, it can inherently become kodesh, it's just random selection, that it wasn't a shlishi, it was a nothing to begin with. Okay, so it's cute, it's cute. Okay? So name it. So that's what he says. That's how he explains it. Now the Gemara goes on. Rabbi Zira boy kum Rabbi Yasser. Rabbi Zira asked in front of Rabbi Yasser. He said, "Betame v'kodesh v'atamar alchein." I understand. Shlishi is tamei by kodesh. So how can you take a shlishi and make it into kodesh? So he dismissed this. He said, "Mishum Maila." It's the Rabbanan. It's the Maila which they gave to Kochim. That you weren't here last night, right?
It's true.
Okay.
Guilty.
Mishum Maila. He said it's a Maila that went on Chop Ezim now for 7 months on. Mishum Maila. He said it's a Maila made by Kochim. Kochim becomes Shlish going to Rabbanan. Rab Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak. Shmuel Yitzchak says, "Ikar Tumas v'Kodesh Mishum Maila." What? Shlishi v'Kodesh is only a Maila. It's only the Rabbanan. The pasuk, the Ephraim brings down the pasuk, which I think Korban Eder brings down the pasuk too. It says that "V'Basar she'yiga b'chol tamei yitma." Now, "Basar she'yiga b'chol tamei yitma" means tamei is even a sheni. A sheni is also called tamei midaraisa. So Basar she'yiga b'chol tamei yitma means that anything which touches the sheni becomes a shlishi. That's why about kochim, of course. Basar is basar kochim. So you see, there's such a thing as kochim becoming tamei if they're shlishi. So how can you take something which is shlishi and make it into kochim? So Rabbi Yossi said, it's an amazing statement. According to Gilin Ephraim's shot, it's an amazing statement he makes. So Yossi, Lamu Matame B'Kodesh, why is it Matame D'Oraisa B'Kodesh? It's also Mishum Maila. It's also a special Maila they made by Kochim. But not they. The Torah made by Kochim. Now there's a whole simon of Rabbi Yosef Engel. There's a sefer of Rabbi Yosef Engel called the Lekach Toiv, which he has a whole discussion of whether we find a concept of siyog in the Torah itself. The Torah itself made siyogim. Right? The classic example, which they talk where they bring it down, is the case of Israel Arayas. The Torah forbade, having BO with certain arayas, and the Torah forbade also all sorts of not proper activity with arayas because of that. Chibuk, v'nishuk, le'erva, things like that. So that's called Avizrayu with the arayas. So as a siyag in the Torah itself, some people say. Normally siyag is the Rabbanan. But such thing as siyag in the Torah itself. We're raising a discussed concept, but such thing as siyag in the Torah itself.
What about Sotah? Would that be siyag?
It may be, but it seems that that's more a mechanism, Gemara really regards it more as a mechanism of restoring shalom bayis. That was a forerunner of counseling. Okay, but in any event, so here, this is like a siyag in the Torah itself. Or the Torah, the way you're saying, the Torah itself made shlishi tamei by kochim, not because shlishi is really tamei, or should be tamei, rather it's a siyag, that you shouldn't come to sheni. Okay? So really it's an interesting concept, which the Gemara is saying, it's really kind of shocking, saying that shlishi was, by chulin, there is no real shlishi. There's no such thing. Chulin really stops at sheni. What do you want to say? Since there's shlishi d'oraisa by kochim, so therefore we should not allow something which by chulin became the equivalent of shlishi, even though there is no such concept. To become kochim, it makes no sense. And we find a shlishi by kochim. So the Torah says that the Gemara says that too is a siyag. That's a siyag, but that's only internally in kochim. Before the thing becomes kodesh, you can't apply the siyag to the material which you're going to make into kodesh. That the Gemara says is not tenable. Which is an interesting thing because normally we don't use svaras on doraisas. If it's a doraisa which says that shlishi is tamei, then shlishi is tamei. What difference does it make whether it's because of a milo or not a milo? It's a doraisa. By the rabbanos you can mess around, but by doraisas. But here the Gemara is saying that since by the shlishi by kochim itself is a siyag or a milo, and we know that by chulin, I'm throwing this in, and we know that by chulin there is really no such thing as shlishi, so therefore you could take that thing which is a shlishi in the chulin and make it into kochim. Okay? It's a very, very big chiddush, but that way, if you learn that way, there are no changes in your souls, which all the other Mefarshim do here. Rav Yehuda said, here's one change of Girsa. Vasik Rabbana. this is actually, I threw this in, but it's really the Gemara itself. I threw it in a moment ago, but it's really here the Gemara itself. It just says, instead of Afilu Va'asi, and it must be going like Rabbanan, not even like Rabbanan. It must be Rabbanan. The Yerushalmi Eina Shlishi B'Chulin. It has to be based on the concept that there's no Shlishi in Chulin. Because if there was Shlishi in Chulin, the whole thing doesn't begin. It's Taketomi, how can you make a Kodesh? But since there is no Shlishi in Chulin, therefore we could say the fact that theoretically it would be a Shlishi would already Kochim does not impede upon us from making a Kochim right now. Okay? So, V'lom b'om and b'tamim b'kodesh, and therefore why do we say it's b'tamim kodesh? Only mishum ma'ila, only if it's a ma'ila, but that's only once it's kodesh already. Well, it's still chulin, it's not yet b'tamim. Rabbi Yosef says, and this is a very fitting, complete, end of the issue here. Rabbi Yosef lays on it, it's a gavaldik chiddush you're saying. But v'leis on a tzrichin shamlim bar nashra. Don't we have to hear this from a great man? In other words, you're not big enough to say such chidushim. You want to say that this is only a mile in the Torah itself, and therefore you can make shlishin to kochim. You got to be a bigger man than you are in order to say that. It's amazing stuff. Okay, says the Gemara, new sugya. Tamanom. Over there they said, since Rabbi Shua praised Rabbi Akiva, Akiva's the one who said that shlish is metame d'oraisa. There's still a concept of shlish in the Torah itself by kochim, right? So Akiva's Rabbi Shua Rabbi Akiva ha'hein Adam Ras teaches us halacha kayetzi, halacha must be like Rabbi Akiva. But in the case, sorry, I mean, rather, there's a really kochim. I take that back. I think it's for everything. Not just by kochim, I'm sorry. By anything. Sorry. Rabbi Akiva said there's shlishi even by chulin. Okay? So he says that, and he argues on Rabbana. We just saw Rabbana says there's shlishi by kochim, but Rabbi Akiva says there's shlishi even by chulin. So Rabbi Shua Rabbi Akiva, Adam Ra Aloch Ketzivah must be low. It's like Rabbi Shua. Says I like Rabbi Akiva. Rabbana Kesar mean it said Midrash will kill so. He praised him on his medrash. That he darshan that shlishi is Tomei d'oraisa. Lamai say na lo kids, but Lamai we don't pass on. Okay, we pass is only sheni by chulin d'oraisa, not shlishi. Okay, the Marab Yacha Rav Meisha b'shem Rabbi Lezer ain't looking at shlishi b'maiser. There's not even shlishi by maiser sheni. Maiser sheni, which is quasi holy, it doesn't have shlishi. Only sheni. Now, here the one says, Vafilu Rabbi Akiva ain't looking. Says, in my truth, it's even like Rabbi Akiva don't get Malchus. Now, here, the Goin Ephraim really wants to change the Girsa. He says, Vafilu Rabbi Shimon ain't ochlim. And this is going back on the Gemara, actually, which we just learned in Yavamis, in the Bavli, he says, which he asked us to eat Ma'aser Sheni Betuma because of Lo Biarti Mena Betomei. I didn't eat it when I was Tomei. And even according to him, there's no Malchus. And actually, the Gemara is going to explain why there's no Malchus coming up. But the Pashat Girsa, as it's written here, is Rabbi Akiva. And here Akiva says there is a shlishi, it's not matav mechayev you if you eat Ma'aser Sheni, which is the shlishi. Why not? Whatever the Girsa is, whether it's Rabbi Akiva or Rabbi Shimon. Lama, why is that? Tvul Yom Paisel, Tvul Yom Passes. In other words, if he touches Truma, it passes it. Sheni Paisel, and the Sheni passes it. Matful Yom Ein Lo Magret El Chulin, but Tful Yom only passes Truma if he touches it, but not Chulin. But Sheni Ein Lo Magret El Chulin. So to a guy who's a Sheni, if he touches, or anything which is a Sheni, does not create Chulin Tmeim, it doesn't create Shlishi. If the Girsa is Rabbi Akiva, it means it creates a Shlishi, but not vis-a-vis Malchus, that whoever eats the Shlishi does not get Malchus. Between Rabbi Shimon, the way the Ephraim changed Girsa, there's no shlishi at all by chulin, right? We learned that from Tvul Yom. Amrei Lezer says, "Kemina chulin kach minyan meiser." Indeed, the same way you count the chulin up to 2, right? Rishon Sheni, then we stop. So they come by meiser Sheni, Rishon Sheni, and we stop. V'asya kaida ma Rabbi Yonah hagos of Rabbi Yonah Rabbi Yami said b'shem Rabbi Shimon Lakish b'chol chulin anan kayamin. Now, this is a very cryptic statement name, Rish Lakish. We only have Ephraim as a pshat here, unlike Marlon, like Pnei Moshe. Pnei Moshe says that it said that Rabbi Shimon Lakish said when it says in the second parak Chagiga, you got to wash your hands before eating food. It's going both on chulin and meiser, right? And it used the chol chulin. Languages b'kol chulin on a kayamin. So all chulin v'ahen pirka meiser nud. And in that parak, it's discussing meiser sheni as well. And Rabbi Yishlokish says the reason why you have the parameters of the parak extend to all types of chulin, and he's coming to say, and meiser sheni is also a type of chulin. Okay? In other words, vis-a-vis Hilchos Tuma and Tara, Meiser Sheni has the din of Chulin. See, Meiser Sheni is elements of both. Because Meiser Sheni is restrictions. You can only eat in Yerushalmi and stuff like that. You might not be able to bring your matzah from Meiser Sheni. Use an esrog on Meiser Sheni because it's not yours, it's a Kodesh Baruch Hu's. But on the other hand, it also has aspects of which it's Chulin. And Shloki is saying, by saying that parak of Chagiga, where it says you have to wash your hands for noitlim yadayim l'chulin meiser, Reish Lakish is saying that that parak is coming to teach us that meiser and chulin are equivalent to this matter, and that there's no malchus on a shlishi by meiser sheni. Rabbi Yisrael said an amazing thing. He said, "Afilu rishon shavoyim b'chuber." If you eat meiser sheni, which is a rishon, it's not clear that there's any problem which can generate malchus. Why not? Says the Gemara, how could that be? It says lo achalti, but it doesn't say the Gemara. But the Gemara is as if it's saying, it says lo achalti bo nimi meru lo biarti meru b'tomei. I didn't eat when I was on Ninus from Meiser Sheni. I didn't consume it when I was tummy. So it sounds like if I'm a Rishon at least, it's going to be a problem, right? I'm tummy. If I'm a Rishon. So if I'm tummy, if I eat it, sounds like lo bi'ocha. I transgress the prohibition. It says lo ochel. And ksiv kan elo lo ochalti. It doesn't say it's a strange lashon Yerushalmi. First of all, it's been the wrong phrase. The post should be going shreya lo biarti, not on lo ochalti, because lo ochalti bonim is going and not eating baninus, and lo biarti menim tamei is going I didn't eat when I was tummy. But the Yerushalmi says an interesting thing. It says it's going lo ochel or lo ochalti and lo biarti. He's saying the guy comes to the Beit Midrash and says echob das nish getan. I didn't do it. But the Chumash never says, returnish das ton. You shouldn't do it. It's interesting. A lav has to be said, don't do this. But this is a guy kind of Beis HaMikdash is saying, I didn't do it. So maybe, you says Yerushalmi, what it means is that if you want to say, if you're doing Meiser and come to Beis HaMikdash and say, I cut the Meiser the way I should have, so you have to say, I didn't eat it b'tomei. But who says it's a lav if you ate it b'tumah?
It's like lifnei mishur sadin.
Right, it's like a living insurance thing. If you want to come and be a big chassid and say Vida Meisers, so this is what you have to say and you have to do. Right, it's like a midas chasidus, not to eat it when you're tummy. That's exactly what we're saying. Okay? So it says lo ochel, which is like, it's like lo sochal, enksiv kan, and lo ochalti, when they do the vidui. So that's when they came. Right? So it says, we'll come and say it. So it says the Gemara.
Of course, the implication of that is that that's it's almost not a chiyuv to eat, but we know that vidui is a chiyuv.
What?
It seems like, lo ochel.
Yeah, but that's a mitzvah say, not a losa say.
True.
Yeah, so maybe it's not mitzvah chasidus. You're right. Maybe it's a mitzvah. If you want to fulfill the mitzvah say, if saying vidui and meiser, they have to refrain from eating betuma, but still won't be allowed to eat malchus. Okay, so it'll be a mitzvah say to say vidui and meiser. Okay. So it says Gemara, I wanted to say, although this is not, I don't know if this is necessarily mucha, but it's going like the sheet of the Yerushalmi, which we know from elsewhere, though it's not brought down here. There's a sheet of Yerushalmi that all Vlad Tumas D'Rabbanan. I've had a couple of times, I think it's Bar Kapora. If Vlad Tuma, they're all, anything below Av is D'Rabbanan. So if anything below Av is D'Rabbanan, could be that that's tied into this over here. It says you can even eat it when it's a Rishon, right? Even the mice is rishon, because as long as it's not an Av, which of course food stuff cannot become by definition, you're not going to be considered to be transgressing any prohibition. But I'm not sure if it is tied in or not. The Yerushalmi, of course, was a big down here. Anyway, the Yerushalmi says in here every way changes the Girsa, meaning the Gilin Ephraim and the Rabbi Yosef Engel, who says, Rabbi Abba Mari Mikeva, not Minayin. Became the Chsiv Kechomitz Vosecha Asher Tzivisoni, since it says, I did like all the mitzvahs that you commanded me, It should be kmi shehu mechubar, not sheinu. It's as if it's the raisa. It's as if it says, because it says in the vidui ma'aser, you say, I did like all your mitzvahs. So that really gives everything that the guy says in the vidui ma'aser a character of a mitzvah. So therefore, it must mean that when he says lo achalti v'menu b'tov lo v'yakti v'menu b'tomei, that's a mitzvah to refrain from eating b'tuma, means to lav to refrain from eating b'tuma. So he actually argues in this previous Gemara. He says it is mechuber, it is deraisa, because everything in the vidui ma'aser is called a mitzvah. Okay. Rav Sherman said, "Mivnei ma amru shasheni hasheni shebechulin mitame mashke chulin." Now, this is going to general areas of tumatar. It's a new issue. A sheni bechulin, you have a food which is a sheni. The food came into contact with some, which came into contact with some, which came into contact with the sheretz. Right? Sheretz is enough. Came to contact, made a rishon, a sheni. What is it? The sheni shebechulin is mitame mashke chulin. Now we know actually it's B'tar Mashke going to make it a Rishon, right? Every time Mashke come to Maim, you know the old story, they always become Rishon, right? Mashke never go down a notch; they always go up to Rishon. But that's not Yerushalmi. I don't know if the Yerushalmi is referring to that directly, even though we know it to be true. That's the stop. Why is that? Mibnei she'adayim she'im medivrei metamas Mashke. So since you're dying, which are Terabarat, Amatame Mashke, Sheni, something which is the Sheni Shumadib Dvar Torah, which is Dvar Torah Mamish. Right, so which actually Lokosh is not Kovachomer. So it says, it's very funny. So it says Yerushalmi, I mean, this is not exactly hilarious, but it's weird, the Gemara's next question. Ima Yodaim Sveikon Latames Acherim. Well, if Liyodayim, there's something to mitame other things. Of course, skipping the parentheses, reading the brackets. It's tar, because it's a suffix Rabbanan L'Kula. Havashen is feigul tame achem tar. Should we say the same thing? But you want to learn out from Yodayim. Just like Yodayim make mashkin tame, so too Sheni makes mashkin tame. So that's to be making a suffix. Which of course is untenable, because one is suffix to Raisa, one is suffix to Rabbanan, right? The suffix by Yodayim, it's the Rabbanan. By it's the Sheni, it's the Raisa. But nevertheless, we pick up again on this question. And Eisha Rabbi Chanil Raimana, Rabbi China asked Raimana, he said, ochel tmeim. If somebody eats foodstuffs to chertame, the shoseh mashkin tmeim, he drinks beverages to chertame, sveikel l'tamis acheim tame. If there's a suffix, if they're metame something else, you have to be machmin and assume they're tame. Okay? But mashkin, in other words, let's say you ate some of these foods or drank some of these beverages, and then you put other food into your mouth, and you're not sure if they're in the mouth at the same time. So as misafik, you have to assume that they were there at the same time. Also, by mashkin ayotzim mehem. This is very strange, but it's not clear exactly what it's referring to. The Pnei Moshe learns that if you spit out or something like that, but the way I guess it's really the way the Meich HaMayim learns. So the Meich HaMayim says it's mashkin which come out from a person's body if he's tummy and tumah d'Rabbana. So if you're tummy tumah d'Rabbana, the only example I always remember this is somebody who's bar rosh of ruba v'mayim shuvim. So on the Yudchet Gzeros from the Sechter Shabbos of Beishavah Meibo Bayom, if you go to mayim shuvim rosh of rubo, then you're tummy. It's a tumah d'Rabbana because they shouldn't think that mayim shuvim is a mikvah, so they made it zera d'Rabbana. So if you do that and then you spit at something, or you urinate, so you're mashkim or tmeim. Okay? So a suffix, if there's a suffix, it's also a suffix d'Rabbana, but nevertheless, mashkim etzimem sveikel l'tam b'zachem tameh. So that's even by d'Rabbanans in this case. So how are you going to say top of Chav Gimel Alpha Sheni which is Dvar Torah, a Sheni which is Dvar Torah, Sveikel Tamis Achem Torah, it's something to be Matam Achem is Torah? You can't say that. Says the Gemara. No, you're totally off track. Says the Gemara. Listen, are we not talking about Truma? Meaning the whole reason we're machmir by a guy who eats tamei mashkin and drinks tamei mashkin, or a guy who buzz rosh of ruba mayim shuvim, it's only because of truma. because her faith is going to come in contact with truma. I'm talking about something other than truma, and I'm drawing an inference from yodayim to a sheni by areas other than truma. And back of there's no reason to be machmer. Why is that? Because the whole concept of a sheni being matame in anything other than truma is rot. It's rabbanon. So therefore, even though he's a sheni deraisa, the sheni being matame something else is the rabbanon. So of course, it's going to make a suffix, right? Again, even though by mashkin, the mashkin kick up to rishon, but the process of the mashkin coming into contact with the sheni and becoming tamei is a rabbanon process. So it's not truma. So therefore, he says, "I'm makel." Even if the guy was a sheni deraisa. Koske is a sheni midrabanan, you're dying. But the even sheni deraisa, I'm going to be makel. Says the Gemara, Amar Lei, so he said, no. The Afilu Tamer, he counted him, he said, you misunderstand me, I forget who was talking to Rabbi Chanina. Chanina said back to my mother, so Amar Lei, Afilu Tamer, Truman Kayomin. You even want to say the Chumra is by Truma, but my Islay Tomei Yitma Dvar Torah. Listen, we're going here, according to Rabbi Akiva, and I'm still going to Akiva holds the Shlishi B'Truma. So who was one who holds Tomei Yitma Dvar Torah? Rabbi Akiva is not Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva holds the Shlishi B'Chuim Mitoraisa. So according to Rabbi Akiva, you have to be Machmir in Sofek. That's his question. If we're going, our study is going, although not the whole time, but ostensibly our study is going on the Mishnah Rabbi Akiva. And the Mishnah Rabbi Akiva is one who says the Rishlishi Midoraisa by Chulin. So according to Rabbi Akiva, you must draw distinctions, Rabbi Akiva, between your dying, which are only Rabbanans, and a Shein Latuma, which can be Doraisa. But if your dying is only Rabbanan, then it can be made by Safik. But another Shein, which is Doraisa, making Shlishi, because according to Rabbi Akiva, there you would have to be Machmir and Safik if we hold like Rabbi Akiva. Okay? Says Mark. Shifting gears. Very interesting question here. Well, not very interesting, but more interesting than some other stuff we've had. Tam and Amran. They said over there. One's got... No, I didn't say famous. One's got to keep a stiff upper lip when one learning the sugyas like this. Tam and Amran, we said over there. Shtei Shelos, I think we had something in the Bavli, but I don't remember where. Maybe in Psachim we had it, I don't remember. Maybe we just had somewhere else in Yerushalmi. Anyway, we've had some allusion to story before. Chagai, besides being a street in Geula and Yerushalayim, was also a Navi. Okay? He comes as a shock to some of us, but it was a Navi named Chagai. There are a whole bunch of streets in Yerushalayim which actually are names of Navim. So they're Treyasars, so we're not responsible to know them. Tama, only girls have to know this stuff. Tama, they said, Shtei Shelos, Shol, and Chagai and Navi. Two questions Chagai and Navi asked the Kohanim when they came back to Beis Mikdash time by Shei. Here's a quiz. Pop quiz. Let's see how you guys do in the Chostum and Tara. Okay? He asked the two questions. Heshivo Sokoroi, Achas Heshivo Sokoroi, one they got, Vachas Lo Heshivo Sokoroi, and one they failed. And then he went on to give a Muslim and says, you guys are jerks, you don't know any halacha, you're idiots. Okay? And whatever else he said there. Anyway, so here pop quiz. Question number 1. Hani saw ish basar kodesh b'knaf bigdo. If a guy carries holy meat from a korban in the corner of his garment, knaf tchila. The knaf is a rishon, right? He's talking about a case where the garment is number 1. It's a rishon l'tumah. Came down with sheretz or whatever it was. Basar kodesh is sheni. The basar is a sheni. It says that the basar touches lechem unazid, touches bread or some other cooked dish. That's a shlishi. The yain v'shemen u'maycho revi, and that touches that the lechem unazid touches yain shemen u'maycho. That's revi. And he asked them. That's what Paul says. Hey, you saw ish b'sar kodesh b'knaf bigdo. It says in the Korban Eder, just by the bend, he brings down the puzzle. So So he asked the question. He said no. Now here you see, Dr. Smells, what we talked about before Mayor came in. By Kodesh, it seems that food can be matame food. You see, because we're going here from basar to lechem. So it's now that I suspect that what you would say that ein ochel matame ochel, ein mashma matame mashma is only by chulin, not by kodesh, based on gemaras like this. Okay, I'm not 100% sure, but that's what it seems. So so what he asked him is, v'chi yesh revi v'kodesh, is there revi and kodesh? V'hana konav yom lo, and the kohanim said no. Oh boy, skeferlach, right? Lo shiva sokaroi. They answered wrong. Sheyesh revi v'kodesh, there is revi. Okay, so they failed. This is what he asked him. Yochagai im yigat mei nefesh b'chol eileh. If it's mei nefesh touches these things, which means instead of the kanaf being a rishon, what's the kanaf now? What's the kanaf if it's mei nefesh? No, it's not. That means kanaf came into contact with a dead body.
Yeah.
So that raises everything up a level.
So the main nefesh is.
Before we say the kanaf is a rishon, now we're saying the kanaf is actually an av. That means the last thing down on line is instead of being a revi, is a shlishi, right? So that was the next question. So ha'itma imtiyah kanaf t'mei nefesh. The kanaf itself is an av. V'noga b'chol ha'itma v'yanu ha'konim v'yomri yitma. They said it's tomei. Okay, they got one right. And she was sakaroi. They knew that shlishi tumah is tomei. The mara b'chia yirmiyah bar chia. Now, it even says Demar, which sounds like, and this is a proof. This is actually he's arguing. I looked for somebody changed the Gersa to Omar. I didn't see anybody offhand. Demar no. They got both right. This is Kodem Achulo Gozru B'Vi B'Kodesh Shalom. It is before they made Xera B'Vi B'Kodesh. B'Vi B'Kodesh was later Xera. We actually have now tackled that till now. B'Vi B'Kodesh is the right of the Rabbana. But he says taka later there, and they got both right. Let's say, why do you go on to tell me you're a bunch of jerks? They got both the questions right. They passed the quiz. Says Amar. It's an amazing answer. Ki'inish the boy ila chavrei. He's like a person looking for an excuse to curse people out. If he doesn't have the excuse, curses them anyway, right? So he thought he'd trick them up, but he didn't trick them up. But he had what to say to them anyway, and continued on to lambaste them. Okay. Says one very cute. Ubeisa my ichbas. It should be my ichbasle instead of my ichbale. It says there that Chaga rebuked about the Beis Hamikdash. I forget the exact verse of the pasuk. The Korban brings it down. Where is it here? I can't find it right now, but it says something about Asher Krivu Sham Tamehu, that the Beis Hamikdash itself was Tameh. So this is about what was bothering them. So here, the word lo is strange. I would just take it out, but the Shari so changed it to Veloma. Why did it be about Beis Hamikdash? So Duamar, because he said, oh yeah, here's the passage. Loma Duamar, why did he say Asher Krivu Sham Tamehu, that the place of the Mehimakim is Tameh? So Kamata Mara B'Simon Bar Zavte, I'll tell you why. It's like we learned elsewhere, and this is also in the Bavli. Gulaso shel Arnon hayevusi motu tachas hamizbeach. Arnon is a Ravna, who was the one who sold the plot for the Beis Hamikdash to David. And now, when they came to expand the Beis Hamikdash and turn in the second Beis Hamikdash, they found the skull under the place where the Mizbeach was. So he rebuked them because he said, you have to make sure that once you find one skull, I guess you have to look for more to bring in the archaeologists to dig up the graves, because obviously this is going to be Matame. So therefore he's telling them be diligent in constructing the Mizbeach to make sure not to dig up graves. Now it's an interesting thing that they found the skull there. It's Lav Dafka that there's a Ravna, I think. Even though the Shaitar Israel says maybe they found some plaque said this is the skull of Aravna. But it seems like it was just like a generic term, like the last guy who owned the Beis Hamikdash site was Aravna, right? He was the one who sold it to him. So therefore, whenever they wanted to say they found bones, they said they found the bones of Aravna, the last goyim who were there. It's like, a generic statement.
I don't know, it wasn't some of the Kohanim that Nebuchadnezzar killed.
I guess it probably is more halachically kulidik to say it's a goy. So the goy is not matami ba'oel. So therefore, they probably would rather be told it's a goy than say it's a Jew.
Chances are that they were Jews that were...
Well, Avdavka, because it was owned by the Jebusites for so many years, and I don't know if they ever plowed under, so therefore you can be told it was a goy. It's better to be told it's a goy.
Oh, I know it's better.
Yeah, so maybe that's what I would assume. Maybe that's why they were told, not Ramna. Okay, so now, the Gemara gives a different spin. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yaakov Shem Rabbi Barkana said, no, Bekino Yuba says it's a different shot in the Gemara. No, not much different, slightly different. They knew halachas of Hesed, the law of Hesed. The law became b'madafos. Now, madafos in modern Hebrew, a madaf is what's a madaf? Any idea? A shelf. But here in this language, it means quaking, as in Quaker. In other words, if let's say I have a piece of meat on the table and there's another piece of meat on top of it, and I touch it, and the bottom one quakes because of the top one, trembles or quakes. So what's the status of the bottom one? I didn't touch the bottom one. I just touched the top one, but it shook because of that. Or for that matter, I shook the table and the piece of meat shook. What's the status then? Now, that's different than Hesed. Hesed is when I touch the thing like that, and I push it. What's the status with my dafos? But instead of moving it, I make it quake. So this is why they knew about Dam HaSeitos, loy became my dafos. And this is the test. Hey, so ish basar kodesh, etc. Shalom tmei meis mitame behesed. If a tmei meis pushes something, does it make it tummy? So what do you think? No. Oh, you're not a Kohen. So it says, tmei meis the time behesed, the ano kohen b'yom lo. Hey, Shivo so karoi. It's correct. Shein tmei meis mitame behesed. What kind of tummy is mitame behesed? Classic example. Nida, right? A zav of any sort. A zav of any sort is matami b'ased. That's why if a goy moves something, since we give all goyim status of zavim, we assume it's tummy. Okay? Sholon tmei meis ose madaf. What about madaf? So Vayano kind of, when he makes a quake, which seems to be more direct, because it makes a move inside, or makes a substance move. Vayano kind of yitma. Lo yeshivo so karoi, strike out on that one. She'ain tummy makes osamadov. He doesn't make things. If he makes things quake or tremble, they don't become tummy. Right? We talk about Rabbi Belevi said al chamishi b'kodesh shalom. Yes, I'm a chamishi, and obviously they got that right. And how does that work? Hey, so ish basa kodesh b'knab bigdo. Konav tchila, that's one. Ubasa kodeshei, that's two. Lechman is nazi shlishi, that's three. Yaim shem revi, that's four. Umachol chamishi shalom. And he asked them about food, which was a fifth. They said no. Yeah. Yeshiva Sokaroi. They had to write. Shein Chamishi B'Kodesh, no such thing as Chamishi B'Kodesh. Okay? The Lamu Kalon. So if that's the case, why did he curse him out? So same reason we said before. And the next question they asked them is whether there's a V B'Kodesh, because then we went up a notch, right? Because the first question they said no. That was a chamishi. And the second question I asked them went up a notch, right? Where the kanaf is more tummy, it's an av instead of a rishon. And they asked him revi, and that they said yitma, which is correct. Because they got right. Chamishi is not tummy, revi is. So in that case, they got both questions right. So again, v'lo mukalon, why do you curse them? Again, the boy ilah chavrei, kinish the boy ilah chavrei, so somebody wants an excuse to curse him out, but if doesn't find an excuse to curse him out anyway, uveit some ma'ichpaslei, why do you care about the house? Vayomer, he said, before, Asher Kivisham Tamehu, why he say, Asher Kivisham Tamehu, the base is Tame, Kaidamai Suman Basa Savi, Kugla Tosha, Arnon, Ivusi, Motsu Tavadech, they found the skull of Arnon. Tani, Rabbi Yosef said, now the Kodesh Apostle, how do we know the Revi in Kodesh is Apostle? Now, finally we get to this. How do we know there is such a thing as Revi Kodesh? It's ungenumen, it was assumed by us all this time that there's a Revi B'Kodesh. Mechtaisi, I don't know such a thing. Says Gemara, very funny. This whole Gemara is very strange. Says Gemara, Tani, Rabbi Yosef, Visha Kosher Puzzle. I assume this is also in the Bavli. It's just two entire Gemaras I have a plaque against remembering, as maybe you do too, so you can relate. Tani, Rabbi Yosef said, "Minayim Revi B'Kodesh Puzzle V'Dino." U'May Mechusar Kippurim. Some is Mechusar Kippurim. Right? He went to the mikveh. And he had Aret Shemesh, but he didn't bring his korbanos here, right? Korbanos doesn't bring till next day. So Mechusar Kippurim, Shein place of a truma. He's allowed to eat truma, he just can't eat kosher yet, right? Hareu place of a kodesh, but he's not allowed to have access to kodesh till the next day. He simply has no access. Shlishi, shu puzzle b'truma. A shlishi who's puzzle in truma, right? Shlishi is not allowed to eat truma, right? Eino din shifso b'kodesh is not a kavachol me apostles kodesh. So if a person is a shlishi, well, actually, it's better to talk about when the truma is a shlishi. If the truma is a shlishi, it's possible. You can't eat that truma. You got to burn it, right? So if a mechusar kippurim was allowed to eat truma, passes kodesh, shlishi b'truma, which already is puzzle, halachas kama that it passes kodesh. Oh, have a kavachomer that shlishi makes revi b'kodesh. Says the Gemara. They feel that they need to stress here that why don't we say dio here? Why don't we say, how do you know it's any? How do you know it makes revi? Maybe we're learning just by coaching that there's concept of shlishi, and there's concept of revi as well. So he says we don't. The kavachom. I really shouldn't even tell you this because I don't even know exactly what I'm saying. But anyway, but he says that we only say dio hechad lo mifrach kavachomer, where by saying dio we wouldn't undermine the kavachomer. But if we said dio, we would undermine the kavachomer because the kavachomer specifically has to do with passing something else. That's something out from Mechusar Kippurim. So therefore, you have to say that shlishi makes revi by truma. You know what? When I just say, just ignore what I just said. Even though I was saying over carbonated Pnei Moshe, I don't even exactly understand what I'm saying myself. Just delete it. Okay? Says the Gemara, hey, see for Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan has a question like this. I don't understand something. Some food which is touched by a tful yom. Shu pasal b'truma ve'eno pasal b'kodesh. The tful yom touched something, so it's possible to be truma, but it's not possible to be kodesh. So, if that's the case,
Maybe it's what we said earlier about this.
Yeah, I'm saying that's what it's referring back to what we said earlier. What is he? What did I say? V'chia eitzer b'yochanan rocha ba machmas tful yom. V'chia shu pasal b'truma. It can't be truma. The ain't a pasal b'kodesh is not pasal b'kodesh. So, but the worst thing at the beginning of the evening.
That it was really tevel when it has the potential.
Yeah, but that's why would you say machmas tful yom then? Oh, so Carmen explains it better. Rather than going back to what we said earlier this evening, Carmen explains it nicely. He says that a tful yom makes pasus truma. If a tful yom touches truma, it becomes pasul. But if that food that the tful yom touched, the truma tful yom touches something else, touches kodesh, is not metame that kodesh. So how can you say there's how do you know that there's revi b'kodesh? Ocha ba machmas tful yom, it passes truma itself, but that truma doesn't turn around pasul kodesh, right? I think that's what he's saying. I'm pretty sure. Let's see if that works out. It's a Eitzer B'Yochanan Ocha Ba Machzul Yom B'Chiyah Shu Posa B'Truma Ve'Eino Posa B'Kodesh. So Rabbi Chia b'shem Rabbi Yochanan said, Asid Rabbi Yossi, B'shitas Rabbi Kiva Rabbo. I'm still not sure of what I'm saying here. Excuse me. I think I'm going to have to go back to what we said before you came in tonight. I don't see any other way of learning that was right. The way I have to learn is that ochel, which comes because of Tul Yom, can't become truma if you have tevel shana, that the heel that we said back in the beginning of the evening, that tevel, that the chulin hatfulin the truma is ketruma dami. So if you have tevel which a Tul Yom touches, it can't become truma. It can't become truma. We had such a sheet at the beginning of the evening. So therefore, but it can become kodesh. Because we don't say chulin hatfulin, there's no such thing as something which is tevel for Kodesh. Kodesh is a random selection which you occasionally apply to things and occasionally don't apply to things. So therefore, it seems Rabbi Yochanan Shlagab is like this. He's saying, no, it's not necessarily true that there's a Revi about Kodesh. Now, put that from Tful Yom itself. If a Tful Yom touches something, it can't become true. If Tful Yom touch Tevel, you can't make it Truma. Because Tevel, when if Tful Yom touch food, you can make it Kodesh. So how do you can't make Kal V'chomer and say, well, if a Tful Yom passes Truma, Mechusar Kippurim passes, doesn't pass the Truma, but that passes Kodesh. So certainly, Shlishi, but true Shlishi by true Shlishi, which is possible by Truma, should pass the Kodesh. Not necessarily true. We see there's a severity by Truma. That Chulin Hatvulin L'Truma is Truma Dami. By Kodesh we don't have such a severity. So maybe Kodesh has different parameters than Truma does, right? Since precisely because of this chumrah which we learned at the beginning of the evening, that chulin hatvulin the truma is ketruma dami, and therefore tefillin which touches something makes it unsuitably become truma, which doesn't apply by kachim. So maybe it's different parameters. So that must be the best way of learning. So Rabbi Chia b'shem Rabbi Yochanan said Asya to Rabbi Yossi b'shitas Rabbi Kiva Rabbo. Forget the Kal V'chomer. Chuck it. Let's learn out from Sukkim. Rabbi Yossi learns like Rabbi Kiva's Rebbe. Come on, Rabbi Kiva Mar Yitma Dvar Torah. Rabbi Kiva learned out in the Mishnah, and B'Doraisa there's such a thing as Shlishi Betuma by Chulin. So just like in Rabbi Yossi Mar Yitma the Dvar Torah. Rabbi Yossi also says Yitma Dvar Torah, and he said the way he learns it out is that there's the Korbanate has a long explanation here, but the bottom line is that it says that he learns out there are enough yitmas in a row to say that we'll take it on faith that Basar Kodesh becomes Tamei. But I think it says Habasar Shariga B'Chol Tamei Yitma. Chol Tamei is even a sheni. The Basar Shariga becomes Tamei, right? But also Yitma can be Matame something else. So that makes a V. Basar Shariga B'Chol Tamei Yitma. No, that can't be the drasha. Sorry, because that's the next drasha. That's the next drasha. So you have to learn the Korbanate in order to figure out the Korbanate. It says that I don't remember. Korbanate explains how it works out. So name and Rabbi Yossi V'Chanina says Leis Rabbi Yossi Tzarech L'Dein Kal V'chomer Yossi Need Kal V'chomer because Kayatari Shidash is Psukim. Okay, maybe this is an explanation. Actually, this is an explanation of what we just said, which would make sense. So, like I just said, V'Abasar Sheiga Ze Sheni Shnaga Rishon V'Chol Tamei Ze Shlishi Shnaga B'Sheni. That no. Oh, so that's actually it's okay because the Rosh I said before. With Rosh try made up makes sense, and that's not what the Gemara is saying here. It touches the Tamei, the Tamei is a Sheni, it becomes Tamei, and it's Yitma, it makes a Revi. And here the Gemara gives a slightly different drasha. The Basar is a Sheni, which touches Rishon. B'chol Tamei, another level of Tumah, Zeh Shlishi Shnaga B'Sheni. Lo Yachel, that's Sof Tamei, that's another Tumah, which is a Revi. So okay, so says the Gemara, Sof Tamei lo yechel, right? Lo yechel. This is the end of the Tumah. Lo yechel, which is Revi. Period. Okay. So now the Gemara goes back to the Mishnah and discuss the next issue of the Mishnah. So the bottom line is learn Revi of Kodesh. We'll stop here for tonight, but we want to learn Revi of Kodesh on Kal V'chomer. the Kal V'chomer did not work. So if we go to Psukim, either it's because Rabbaser Sheigah B'chol Tamei Yitma, and the Yitma teaches us Yitam Achen to make Revi, or because Habasar Sheigah, that's Rishon Sheish Nagar Rishon, B'chol Tamei Shlishi Nagar B'Sheni, Lo Yachel is another level which is Revi. Okay, I thought we finished the Tumah and Tara tonight, but it got a little bit complicated. But the rest of it's in the Mishnah. Knock on wood, please. There is smooth sailing.